Hey everyone, this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. Well, in this week's guitar lesson, I'm going to show you how you can play a solo up and down the neck of the guitar using chords. So check this out. Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you the different chord voicings that I used in the intro. However, if you want to download the MP3 jam track, which I've got in two speeds by the way, I've got the tempo that I played in the intro, and I've also got a slower speed, so if you're a beginner this will help you kind of get your timing. And I've also got the tablature for everything that I played that'll help you as well. You're going to want to go to ActiveMelody.com and look for EP093 to find those lesson assets for this lesson. But otherwise, let's go ahead and take a look at the video. Alright, so we're going to learn a lot in this lesson. One of the things we're going to learn is obviously the different chord voicings, but I'm also going to show you how you can improvise with these chords, and you'll be able to do it over the jam track, the MP3 file, and practice that, but you'll also be able to apply this to other styles. That'll be the nice thing. You can even use other jam tracks and other Active Melody lessons, or even play along with the radio or whatever. You'll be able to start pulling out some of these chords. Another thing I should point out is they're very easy to do, so we're only going to be playing on the top 3 strings. So even if you're a beginner, you're just starting to play guitar, you can follow along and you'll be able to do these as well. You can also do these on an acoustic or electric. You don't have to have electric for this. So here's the thing. The jam track that I played in the intro was over the key of A. So we're going to learn this in the key of A. And we're going to start with the chord A, and I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to show you how you can apply these different voicings to other chords. So here's how I think of the A. I always go back to my A major bar chord. So and the reason I do that is because wherever you're barring, that becomes visually for me, that becomes home base. So if I'm playing an A bar chord, I'm going to assume you know how to make an A bar chord. But if I'm playing an A bar chord, my bar is here on the 5th fret. And so 5th fret becomes home base whether I'm playing the minor pentatonic scale, so I know exactly where that's rooted, or the major scale, which would be here, or major pentatonic scale, or if I'm playing different chord voicings. So when I'm playing this first chord that you saw me play, I'm only playing the top 3 notes out of that bar chord, so there's no need to make the entire bar. That's the thing that I've learned with chords. A lot of times if you're looking at a chord book or if somebody's explaining what chord a song is in, you feel the need to play the entire chord. And sometimes that's the case, but a lot of times if you're playing in a band, you'll have a bass player covering the low notes, you'll have a keyboard player covering parts. So sometimes you just need to get at parts of a chord, and especially if you're trying to transition quickly. So just keep that in mind. You don't always have to play all 6 strings if you're going to do that. If you're going to play a bar chord, it just depends on what style you play. If you're playing finger style and it's just you probably would. But otherwise, I like to oftentimes just play the top 3 strings out of that bar chord. So here's how I'm doing it. I'm barring the first 2 strings on the 5th fret with my pointer finger, and then I'm taking my middle finger and I'm putting it down on the 6th fret 3rd string, and I'm playing those 3 notes. That's the A chord. That's a way to make an A chord. Now, so that's what I did to start this. Now I switched up to an A7th. Let me show you how I'm doing that. What's nice about this is your middle finger actually stays on the fretboard the whole time. So when you slide into this next chord, what you're going to do is you're going to remove your pointer finger. Your middle finger is going to come up to the 9th fret here. So it's very visually easy to see this with the A chord. You have a dot here, a dot on the 7th, and a dot on the 9th on your fretboard. Most guitars do. So it's easy to see where to go to. So your middle finger goes down 9th fret 3rd string. Your pointer finger goes down on the 8th fret 2nd string, and then your ring finger comes down on the 9th fret 1st string. And what you've made, if you think about this little shape that you've made, when you're playing a D7th chord, you learn a D7th chord down in 1st position. you learn to make it like this. Well, that's that same shape. It's just slid up here, so that these two fingers, your middle finger and your ring finger, are straddling the 9th fret. So you're going to want to make sure you're only playing those top 3 strings. But now what we have is we have an A here. We have this, which is an A 7th. Now let me give you a little pointer of how to get to this. So just remember, it doesn't matter which chord you're playing. So if you're playing an A, when I play an A, even if I'm playing it like this, I visualize what my bar chord would be. So the bar chord would be taking up 3 frets. See how it's taking up these 3 frets here? So these 2 fingers are on the 7th fret. Even though I'm not using them, when I look at this, I visualize that being the case. So to get to that A 7th, we're going to skip a fret, and then we're going to come up here, just like this. And that's a quick, kind of easy way to go from an A to an A 7th like this. Now we're going to play an A 7th in another position. We're going to play it up here. Now what's nice about this is, if you look at what I'm moving, I'm keeping all 3 fingers on the fretboard. I'm moving my pointer, or my middle finger and my ring finger, up to the 12th fret now. The only difference is my pointer finger, instead of playing right here, it goes back a fret. So it's actually playing now on the 10th fret, 2nd string. But when you play those top 3 strings, you're playing another voicing of the A 7th chord. And the 7th chord is really, it's kind of a transition chord. I always think of it that way. You're transitioning to something else. It's also a blues chord. Anytime you hear, or it sounds bluesy, and anytime you hear a 7th chord thrown in, it has more of a bluesy feel. So now we have an an A major like this. We have an A 7th here, and we have an A 7th up here. Now just remember, I showed you how to get from here to here, right? How to visualize the skip. Well, you're going to do another little skip here. This time you're going to skip 2 frets, and you're going to go up to the 3rd fret. And the reason I'm saying to visualize skipping frets is then when you can take where your root is, and you can go from here to here to here, it doesn't matter what key you're in. You don't even have to know what chord you're playing. All you have to remember is visually on the neck, when I'm playing here, I know if for example, if I was playing an F sharp, I would know I'm going to skip this fret and I'm going to come up here to play the F sharp 7, and then I'm going to skip 2 frets and I'm going to come up here to play that voicing of it. So you can see what I've just done there. I've created a real easy little system to be able to jump around and play different chords. That way you don't always have to pull out your songbook and do it. You just kind of remember, you remember your main chords. You know where a G is, you know where an A is, you know where a B is. And so from there you can take it in different positions on the neck. Okay, a little bit of a digression, but I think it's important. So we have the A 7th, A 7th, and then I came up and went, did this little kind of a triplet thing where I went, and then went into the D chord. Now what I'm doing here is, this is another way you can play an A. So we have an A 7th, A 7th. Now I'm coming up here. This is technically an A 6th, but what I'm doing is very easy to play. I'm just barring the top 3 strings, and I'm on the 14th fret. And what's nice about this, watch this. I'm just walking it down to the 13th fret, down to the 12th fret. Now when we get to the 12th fret, you're playing a D9, or I'm sorry, an A9 chord. So if you were making the full chord, it would look like that. You're just playing the top 3 strings of it. Now why that's important is, it gives you a kind of a little bit more of a jazzy feel when you get into the 6 chords and the 9 chords, and they work really well with blues. So if you're playing an A, just know that if you're playing any blues in A, you can always work this in, you can 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 work that in. So now you're starting to have options when you're playing these chords. And so another important thing to point out is, obviously every 12 frets on the neck, it repeats. So in other words, if you're playing this note here, an open E, if I come up to the 12th fret, I'm playing an E there as well, but it's an octave higher. So so when you think of this, then if I wanted to do that down here, it would look like this. So you'd have to take your fingers off the fretboards. But now you see I can play an A, that little A6 to A9 run. I can play it up here, or I can play it up here. So now you can, what happens then is it all repeats. So that means the A major that I played here, you could also do it up here. So you have, so that just, I'm pointing that out because you can start to see, you may have to figure it out in the beginning. Okay, so if I'm here and I wanted to play it an octave lower, what does it look like? You may have to count 12 frets or whatever, but that's how you can do it. So some of that will take a little bit of practice just to kind of memorize it, but once you have that, you'll have it for life, and you'll be able to always resort to these different voicings when you're playing your chords. So let me back up now that I've kind of explained some of that. We have the A7. That's what we have thus far. So the timing of that, when you're playing along with a jam track, is, so I'm going down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, then I go down, down, down. When I say down, I'm talking about the stroke. Down, down, down. Then I come to a D. Now look what I just did here. This is the D major shape. So, we made the A major shape like that. So I'm making the same little shape, but I'm doing it up here. And if we were to play the D bar chord, the D major bar chord, it would be here, right? So now we're just playing the top 3 strings, just like we did for the A. So see how that walked in? It was a nice little transition to get to the D. Now that we're at the D part, I can repeat exactly what I've been doing here if I want. And I could, so in other words, I could go all the way up. But that's getting kind of high on the neck, and now you could do that. But what I did was, instead of keeping going this way, because I know some of you are going to be on acoustic guitars and you can't get that high if you don't have a cutaway, is I dropped down like this. So look at what I did. That's a D. Now I went to a D7th chord. Well, you know the D7th chord down here probably. A lot of you do in first position. But think about what I just did. So if that was the D, if that was the major chord here, and remember the little trick, we're going to skip a fret and we're going to come up and play it here. Well, that's that same D7. It's just played an octave lower. You see it? So you can start to visualize that this up to here is just the same thing as your D7th chord that you learned down in first position. So now you don't have to keep going up this way, doing that little thing that I showed you. You can go from here and transition all the way down to a position that's more comfortable. So then from there, I followed the same pattern. So what would we do? We're going to skip 2 frets, remember? And we're going to play the D7th like this now. It's the same thing what we did when we were playing the A7th. Remember we played it up here? Now we're playing a D7th like that. Now hopefully light bulbs are going off for some of you and you're thinking, so now I can, if I'm playing a D, I could play a D7th like that. Maybe some of you have never played a D7th like that. But that's another way that you can do it. So now you have your D chord, your D7th. By the way, let me just show you the fretting here. This is played on the 10th fret, so I'm barring the first 2 strings on the 10th fret, and then the 11th fret, my middle finger goes down on the 3rd string. So that's your D chord up here. That's just a standard D7th. And then when I came to this, I've got my ring finger and middle finger straddling the 5th fret. And then my pointer finger goes down on the 3rd fret, 2nd string. Now what I did after that was I went like that. Now I broke protocol a little bit just to give it kind of a jazzier feel, but I'll explain why that's working. So what I did was I came up to the 7th fret and played those top 3 strings. Remember when we did that with the A up here? Well, I'm doing that now for the D, which would be here. So that would be your D6 chord, if you will. But now I could have just done that, just like I did with the A, but just to make it a little more interesting so it's not so monotonous, what I did was I just went from this shape, I slid everything up 1 fret, and then back to the 7th fret. Now that's, some of you may be going, well wait a minute, where is that? What is it? And honestly, I don't have a good answer for it other than it has kind of, you can oftentimes take a chord and just shift it up a fret. Like for example, if you're playing, see how you can like shift underneath it or above it and go back. It just kind of gives it a, I don't know, more of a bluesy feel, I guess. So that's all I did for that. So let's go to the D part. So we have. That's what I did for that. Now we're back to the A. Look how easy it is to get back to the A. It's right there. We're going back to that same pattern. And then I came backwards this time. And did another little where I played it and then I slid it down a fret and went back up. So, let me show you that again. We went backwards this time. And the reason I went backwards was I'm trying to show you that you can work these chords in however you want. You don't always have to go start here and keep going up each time. You can go, here, you can go backwards, you can go forward. As long as you're playing the chord, it doesn't matter. Now you have all these different variables and you can start playing with them and figuring out how you want to work them in. And they're really nice. It's really nice to work into a solo. If you're playing a solo in the key of A, like a bluesy, that kind of thing. That's how I use them. I'll throw it in. Sometimes I'm not sure where to go next, and you can real quickly jump into the chords, and it sounds like it's part of the solo. In fact, it really beefs up or enhances the solo, I think. Okay, so let me back up and I'll play everything up to this point. So we have. Now we're back to the A. Now I go to the E. Now check this out. Now this is a really cool lick because you can apply this to any chord as well. So check this out. So when you come down to the E, I'm just playing an E chord. You know how we've been playing the top part of the bar? Well, think of playing an E chord. So your nut here, the white part on that's your bar, although you don't have the bar. Or you're not barring it with your finger. So I'm just playing the top 3 notes, just like I did here, with the A and the D. Now I'm doing that with the E. So really all I need to fret, if that's the case, is the 1st fret, 3rd string. And I play strings, here's the order. It's 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's 3, 1, 2, 3. And I repeat that. 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2. So let me show you the fretting for that. So start with that, and then I play this D7th shape. Alright, now watch this. We're going to use that same shape and move it up another fret. And then we're going to use that same shape and move it up to here. Now here's why that works. So remember when we played the A, when we played the A and then we played the A7th here? That's what you're doing with the E. Check it out. You're playing the E and you're playing the E7th here. But instead of just going from here to here, I walked up to that chord using that same chord shape. Watch. So that's a little trick that you can use with any of these chords. In fact, I thought about doing the lesson this way. So after we got to the E7th, I thought about going to the A and doing the same thing. Check it out. And then to the D. So you see how that works? What I mean by that is you can take, anytime you're playing an A, instead of just playing an A like this and playing an A7th there, you can build up to that A7th. So you can go, or you can even go. You can start to kind of shuffle the chords around a little bit. As long as you have the 2 points being the A and then the A7th, your build up to that can happen that way. So that's kind of a fun way to think about doing that. That's why I worked in the E chord that way. And again, the picking pattern is 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2. Let you watch my right hand. So it's down, up, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, down, down. Okay, then we're back to the A, and this time I went just like I did before, so that's nothing new. There's the A, A7th, and then we did the little. And then this time, instead of when the song goes to the D, instead of me coming up and doing that same thing, what I did was I took that D7th shape and I started it here this time. So that's another little change, and I did that intentionally to show you that you don't have to always start with wherever the root is. You can start with any of these versions. So you could have started with this version of the D, or you could have started with this little A6 to A9 or D6 to D9. You can start with any version. So after we play the A, we go to the D7th like this, the D7th like this. Then, now this is another version, and not to try and throw too many curveballs at you, but I showed you before to play the A6 like this. Well, if you play that A6, you do the same bar, but if you add in this case it would be the 8th fret 1st string, and I use my ring finger for that. You may want to use your middle finger, but that makes it become instead of a D6, it becomes a D7. So that's actually another way you can play a D7th chord, and that would apply to any of these other chords. So when I came up with the A6, for example, and that I could have went. That's another way to make the A7th. So you have all these different ways you can get at these chords, but anyway, so from the D part we have. I came up like this, and then I went, just did that same little slide. So after I added the 7th, I took it away and played the D6 again, and went, and again that's just barring the first 3 strings there on the 7th fret, up to the 8th fret, and back to the 7th fret. So then, alright, let me back up. I'll pause there and or not pause, but I'll kind of recap what we've done so far. So here we go from the A. Back to the A again, and that's what we've already done. So you got the A7, slide it down and back, and then we come down and play the E and do the same little pattern. So it's the E, and we play the E7, slide it down, and then back to the A. So then I added a little turnaround part, which is kind of breaking protocol here, but I just thought it was kind of fitting. And so here's what I played for that. So it ends on that A chord, which we already know. But what I started with is it's really an A9. I think it's an A9 sus4 if we want to get super technical. But here's how I'm playing this, and you can use this on any turnaround on any chord structure, which is nice. But I'm playing my I got my ring finger down on the 5th fret, and just think about where this is in relation to the root fret. That's how I think of it. So you can always kind of resort to this. But I've got my ring finger down on the 5th fret 4th string, my middle finger down on the 4th fret 3rd string, my pointer finger down on the 3rd fret 2nd string. So you have those 3, and then you take your pinky and come down here on the 5th fret 1st string, and you're only playing strings 4, 3, 2, and 1. So that's that chord. And now watch this. Now we're going to keep our pinky down, and we're going to make this this diminished chord. It's really an A7th diminished chord. And the way that I'm making that is, the way that I think of this chord is, well, let me show you how to make it, and then I'll show you how I think of it. So pinky's down on the 5th fret 1st string, ring finger goes down on the 5th fret 3rd string, middle finger goes down on the 4th fret 2nd string, like that. So there's kind of like a little D7th shape, right? Here's your D7th, here's your D7th. That's how I think of it. And then I put my pointer finger down on the 4th fret, 4th string, and I play those 4 chords. Now that's a George Harrison chord, you know, or you know, Jeff Lynne from ELO. Those guys use this chord a lot. Anyway, I know a lot of people use them, but I always think of that as, anytime I play that chord, I always think of George Harrison. So you have this chord, and then it ends with that A chord. Now, if you're having too much of a struggle doing that turnaround, you don't have to. You could just play the A 3 times. You could just go and then do the final turnaround part. So anyway, that's how I did it. So you can use that little progression anytime you're kind of turning around. It's predictable. It's kind of the Count Basie ending as well. But like if you were in the key of C, you could do, you know. So it just plays off wherever that root is. So in D it would look like this. So anyway, that's what that is. And then I came up here and played this E7th. Instead of playing an E7th down here, I did it higher on the neck. And here's where that is. It's the 9th fret. I'm borrowing the first 3 strings, and then I'm adding on the 10th fret 1st string. I'm adding that, and that's an E7th. So think about how to get there. So if your E is here, and we learned an E7th here. By the way, you could have played it here as well. It just depends on where you want to play it. We learned an E7th here, and then remember the 9th to the 6th chord to the 9th chord. Well, there it is for E, and I added that finger to make it an E7th chord. It's the same thing we did when we came to the D chord just a few minutes ago. Did that same thing. So that's a D chord. Or I'm sorry, that's an E7th chord. And that would be your turnaround. And then you're back in position to play the A part. Let me back up. I'll play through everything. I'll do it kind of slowly so you have one final version of this. Make sure you download the jam tracks and the tablature as well, but the jam tracks to practice along so that you can really get your timing down. This lesson will be great for timing if you're struggling with that, because it's kind of simple. It's the same strum pattern, down, down, up. In fact, you could work up different ways to do it. You could go, you know, if you wanted to do more of like an Elmore James or whatever, you can take that same concept and apply it in all kinds of different ways. So, all right, here we go from the start. And then it repeats. So that's what we have this week. We'll see you in next week's lesson.